You mentioned a moment ago that there is this tremendous supply of luxury, and I guess it's implicit in that the converse, there's very little, if you like, affordable or middle-income housing.
Correct.
Now, what's your feeling about that? Is this a mistake on the part of the developers, that they've overlooked this market, or they don't want to serve that market, or is there no demand in that market?
I think part of it is that everyone jumped on the bandwagon, and the private developers wanted to have projects that they were proud of. In real estate investments, the best investments are not always the flashiest or the most glamorous. Sometimes a warehouse or an affordable accommodation or staff housing, is a very good investment. It's also zoning. The government did zone a lot of the new areas as mostly residential. And I think that perhaps they didn't forecast the demand for more office space. Recently I've seen people considering leaving Dubai because they have businesses that want to expand but they cannot. So they're looking at going regionally to Doha or somewhere else.
The problem is office space, or it's commercial industrial.
Correct.
They cannot find it here.
If they want to expand, like we've gone from 5 to 60 employees within 4 years.
Right.
If they can't jam all those 60 into a small 1,500 square foot office, then they have a problem.
Indeed, we've had a guest on the show recently who made that very same point. He wanted to expand, but he couldn't afford the rents in Dubai. So he was going to put his expansion into probably Bahrain.
More supply is coming on the market, but if I can just make a very simple comparison of residential versus commercial investment right now, if you purchase a luxury apartment for, let's say, a 1,000 square foot apartment for the going market rate, which is, let's say, 1,000 to 1,200 dirhams, the possibility that you're going to rent it out for a 10% yield, or 100,000 to 120,000 dirhams per year, is very slight.
You'll have to take a lower rate of return than that.
Exactly. You'll probably make 4, 5, 6% yield. Now,
yes, okay.
That same size of unit on commercial, you can earn up to 150,000 or 200,000 dirhams, 15 to 20% return.
So Rob, let me now put on another hat, and let's say I'm a resident of Dubai, either an existing resident or a new resident, and I want a place to live that I'm going to own. Where in general, or in what kind of project, or in what geographical area can I get the best value for money and the best quality of life?
Well, you just said it, value for money. I think when you're looking, you have to choose 3 different things. One is the age-old real estate mantra: location, location, location. Okay. 2 is value for money, and 3 is quality. Okay. So location, location, location. If you're new to Dubai, most of the people who come into our offices that are new are choosing to live, or preferring to live, in the gated communities. Because heretofore you've lived in villas that had walls, and there hasn't been much of a neighborhood concept. But someone coming into Dubai, it's very nice to have all the facilities and to have neighbors next door, and to live in a place where you can walk around the community. Whereas before, when I first came here, you were living in a walled-in villa, very much by yourself, in communities that really didn't mix together.
The new buyers are looking for places like, shall we say, the Springs, the Meadows.
Yeah, Emirates Living has been a big favorite. Those are the Springs, the Meadows, the Hatan. Recently, people have gone into the Arabian Ranches, which I think offers some of the best value in the market right now. The Green Community, which is, some people say it's very far away, but people...
I think maybe nothing's very far away now.
No, I mean, you probably remember, Abarsha, which is now tightly
downtown.
Dense. It's downtown.
Yeah.
3 years ago seemed like it was in the middle of the desert. So the Green Community has very quality villas and townhouses and apartments at a great value.
Okay.
And it's actually a little quieter, and people prefer that.
How well are these communities served in terms of retailing and services and utilities and so on?
It's getting better.
Does that mean it's not very good?
That means that they built the villas and they built the units before before they built the services.
Yes,
So
I think to
for
take Green Community as an example, I think they are just now putting in the first supermarket.
And they've had people living there for a year and a half.
What about the MR properties? Are they served with retail at present?
They're beginning to get retail as well. The Greens has several supermarkets that are within easy access. The lakes and the villas that are there have easy access to the Lakes Club. There are some schools that are just opening now.
The schools are just beginning to come, I think, to these communities.
And that's a big draw as well, because especially with traffic these days in
Yeah.
Dubai, walk your kid to school is definitely a draw.
Residents looking to occupy are going primarily for villas. You did not mention apartments. So are you saying there's not much occupant demand in the tower?
No, it's just there's not much supply in the towers.
And what about those 100 towers at the marina?
Those 100, it's actually more. The plan, there's 90 under construction right now, and there's probably another 100 that might be built within the next 5 years.
Okay, well, isn't that supply, or is
that is supply, but that's supply that's coming in the foreseeable future.
So really, there's nothing really ready for occupation at the moment. Is that
There's
what you're
very
saying?
little that's. If you look at, for example, the marina towers in the evening, there is a lot of blackout. In other words,
Yeah.
there's a lot of apartments that are uninhabited,
Yeah.
but they are all sold.
Yeah.
And for example, our leasing agents try to get those people to let out their units, and they either won't rent them out because they can't get the rents that they want, so they say it's not worth it, or B, they decide that they might want to just use it once in a while. They have a lot of Saudi and UK investors. Over half of our clients, over half of that 2 billion sales turnover are from overseas, from the UK, Europe, GCC.
There's a huge amount of apartment property that's being in effect held off the market by owners who, for whatever reason, don't want to lease, don't want to resell.
That's correct.
Rob, what are the top 5 sectors that you favor in your advice to investors?
For the investors walking through the door who initially made money trading the properties or speculating, as some people might say, and are concerned that there's an oversupply on the residential side, we suggest warehousing and logistics. We suggest select retail, in other words, not malls, but for example, retail at the base of towers. We suggest affordable housing or staff housing, and we suggest things like business hotels, 3- or 4-star hotels that people can go into with brand names like Comfort Inn or Best Western. And the conduit to invest in these vehicles is usually through a fund, and there are more and more of these funds coming into the Middle East and into this market. Because an investor at this point who used to buy one unit and trade it himself, because you have to take a partnership interest in a larger project, they need to find a partner, and those partners right now are funds.
So in other words, the conduit for investment, in your view, is no longer buying the physical property, but buying into a fund that owns properties.
If your goal is return on your investment for real estates, then funds offer the greatest opportunity and the easiest vehicle to do so.
These are UAE-based funds, or these are funds based?
These are UAE-based funds.
Rob, what is the vision and the philosophy of Landmark Properties as a service provider?
Since the beginning, we've been trying to bring international level of service to this market, and right now we're trying to really push for more transparency in the market. We're doing so by trying to publish more research, reliable research, with partnerships with companies like CBRE and MIT. We have a research partnership with MIT, the US located university, which has a center for real estate research, and they have some associates.
So those are top drawer names.
They are, and I think in improving transparency, you will attract more international capital when they feel safer to come
Indeed,
to
I
the
think
UAE.
transparency is really a very important issue in today's market, and maybe it's one element which has been missing so far.
It's getting better.
Good to hear it. Well, Rob, thank you very much for being on our show. It's been a real pleasure to have you, and
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's all we have time for today. Thank you for watching the Edwards Economic Research Show. We'll be back soon with news, views, and interviews on business in Dubai and the Gulf.